We have big breaking news hour for comedian Bill Cosby as the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has overturned his criminal convictions for aggravated indecent assault. We know that the Supreme Court was hearing an appeal based on two legal grounds filed by the defense. Ground number one was that the former prosecutor in Montgomery County had made an agreement with him not to move forward with criminal charges, thus depriving him I should say, how should I say this? I should say allowing him to feel free to speak in a civil case involving the same victim. So he was alleging that he gave up his Fifth Amendment right against protection from self-incrimination by saying that, look, when I had this promise, I wouldn't be prosecuted. I felt that I could speak freely with this civil case, but had no idea that years down the road, when a new DA would take office, that I would be subject to criminal prosecution. So that was ground number one. Ground number two was that the court permitted numerous prior bad act witnesses in his second trial. So in the first trial that happened, which resulted in a mistrial, the jury was hung on that one, there was only one prior bad act witness permitted by the court. The second time around, the judge permitted 5. So that was a ground that was raised on appeal by Cosby's defense team, saying that it was unfair. And we are just learning this. This has been a case we've been following very closely here on Court TV. And this opinion, this is really hot off the press. It was just published today by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, 79 pages long. While I have not had a chance to read any of this because I've been on the set and I'm learning this in real time as we're relating it to all of you at home, I want to bring in our guests this afternoon. We have two very seasoned trial attorneys who are no stranger to high-profile cases. Joining us from California, criminal defense attorney Lada Uretzian, and standing by in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Great to have you both. I can't wait to get your reaction to this because I am, quite frankly, stunned. Lada, I want to go to you first, please.
Of course, we are all stunned because I would have expected it to be, if it was going to be overturned, for it to have been overturned based on the prior bad acts or the great number of prior bad acts that had come in. But of course, this was also a very strong argument. The fact that he had technically almost immunity from the prosecution. Prosecution had told him, we're not going to prosecute you. And because of that, he couldn't invoke his Fifth Amendment, his right not to be deposed, and in the civil case. So technically he was forced to speak at the civil case and to be questioned at the civil case. And that's where he made, sounds like some incriminating, he gave him some incriminating information, and that was used against him. And that makes no sense legally. And hence the reason the Pennsylvania Supreme Court sided with him and overturned his conviction.
Lada, thank you. Josh, give us your reaction, if you would, please.
Well, it's obviously just earth-shattering news for victims across the nation. This was such a high-profile success in the last couple of years of women standing up and other victims standing up against people with unlimited assets and power. So for it to get overturned based on an agreement made with Mr. Cosby and his team back in 2003, 4, 5, and the detrimental reliance that Mr. Cosby is now benefiting from, it's really shocking. I think that people are going to be vociferously upset about the fact that this man who was tried, convicted, there was overwhelming evidence with multiple victims, is now going to fairly be cast as someone who got away with it.
Right, Josh, exactly. And I know you are no stranger to these types of cases. And I remember, so I covered his first criminal trial when I was a reporter in Pittsburgh, and I covered his first trial. And I remembered that not only was there the big legal story going on in the courtroom with the evidence, some of it so disgusting, stunning, upsetting, as you can imagine, but also there was a story going on outside of the courthouse because so many accusers had gathered there to support one another. I mean, they were walking arm in arm, holding hands, hugging, crying together. So many of them were there, even though their cases, they allege, could not make it to the point of criminal prosecution, as Andrea Constand's case did. Here, they wanted her to know that they stood with her and do stand with her this day. So as you put it, so well. It is earth-shattering news for all of those women who felt very invested in this case and were applauding her bravery getting up there. I mean, not once, but twice. This is a woman who leads a very private life. She's there in the light gray suit with the short curly hair. That is Andrea Constand. And I remember when I watched her the first time, and again, I covered the first trial. These are two of the accusers who were outside of the courthouse day in and day out, talking about what happened with them and just how upsetting it was that there was a pattern here. And I remember watching Andrea Constand, and to me, this is a woman who just emanates authenticity. And believe me, you know, I like to say it's kind of like we call balls and strikes here at Court TV. When someone doesn't come off as authentic, we're the first ones to say it because that's our job, to give analysis objectively. But this is a woman, my gosh, you know, Lada, so she's been through this not once, but twice. I mean, this has been ongoing since back in 2004 when she initially came forward. And just because the DA at the time didn't want to move forward with the prosecution, there were others in that office who felt the evidence was there. Talk to me about how you think Andrea Constand might be feeling at this moment, learning this news about her abuser's conviction being overturned.
I mean, I can't imagine what she's feeling as a woman, as a human being. It's heart-wrenching. Imagine you've been through this trauma once, then you go through your trial, and he's convicted. As any human being or a victim of a crime, I mean, it clearly is upsetting, but we have to remember something. We have one of the best legal systems in the world. And we need to sometimes put aside our emotions. We have a system that works in an amazing fashion, and we need to follow the law. And this isn't just about Bill Cosby. This is about the rule of law, constitutional rights. If there is an agreement with a defendant and a promise made by a prosecutor not to prosecute, and as a result of that, and the prosecutor knew at the time there was a civil action and that he would be forced to testify or be deposed in that civil action, and knowing that, promised what he promised, and that allowed Cosby to actually testify or be deposed in that civil case, and basically lost that right to invoke the fifth, then he needs to keep that promise. Sometimes we forget. We just look at the individual and we see a monster. Yes, you could have a monster in front of you, but we do have a criminal justice system and a constitution, and we need to follow it. We follow it not because of Cosby, not because we're protecting Cosby, but because we're protecting every defendant, including a lot of times innocent people. We're protecting everybody's rights, and we owe that to all of those defendants and to victims. We want people to be tried and convicted on the correct grounds. They should have never made that promise to start with. Then if they hadn't made the promise, maybe we should have had enough evidence, or another prosecutor could have easily prosecuted and gotten his conviction, just like they got the conviction here. The decision was made, they need to stick with it. And that's what the Supreme Court is saying here.
Right. And this opinion by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court was authored by Justice Wecht. He is the son of the famous Dr. Cyril Wecht, also a lawyer, too, by the way, and his son is on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And he wrote this opinion. I'm just, again, as I'm live on the air, I can't read this all right now, but I skipped ahead to page 47 where the analysis begins. And he lays out how there were two issues brought before the court. But Josh, he says we're going to begin the analysis by looking at the issue of the promise not to prosecute, because if that is a valid issue, then the whole point of the prior bad actor witness analysis kind of becomes moot, because at the end of the day, if they find in his favor, which they have, based on that issue about the promise not to prosecute, then they aren't even getting to the issue of the prior bad act witnesses. Tell me, Josh, when I was speaking with a colleague, a mentor of mine who used to serve as a prosecutor in Montgomery County, she's been on Court TV before. Her name's Attorney Barbara Ashcroft. She is a trial expert, and she shared with me something that I really hadn't thought of it this way. She said, you know, Think about how Bill Cosby has never had a shortage of lawyers protecting him. He has always had a team of lawyers way back when Bruce Castor made the promise not to prosecute and he went ahead and gave testimony in the civil deposition. I'm sure he had several lawyers who were there with him. I want you to weigh in on that. Was he let down by his team? Because the DA, serves the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but those attorneys who were with him through all of it, did they let him down by letting him speak about what happened?
Well, it's interesting because this is an illustration of how ugly it gets in our imperfect, but as Lotta says, best system we've got when we start combining justice with money. And criminal justice is different from civil justice. And when we cross those lines together, that's how we end up with this situation. The only reason Mr. Cosby waived those Fifth Amendment rights, sat down, and testified was that so this complainant could proceed with a substantive civil process, at the conclusion of which she received some sort of financial compensation. Mr. Cosby never would have participated in that had he not been promised that these statements weren't going to be used against you. So yeah, the lawyers back then were protecting Bill Cosby's rights, and by not getting this issue dealt with ahead of his most recent trials, there's certainly some big time betrayal in there. The betrayal just runs through this entire case. I'm reversing roles right now with the other victims that either did or did not come forward because of other discussions with DAs during the pendency of all these cases. Think about it. If you're a victim of especially a high-profile individual, the mere process of complaining, of coming out, of going into the public sphere, that is in itself a trauma. And
You're
right
absolutely
now,
right, Josh.
we are re-traumatizing everyone involved.
This is really something. I am just stunned, particularly because I sat through watching the evidence. The evidence was there. I promise you it was there. This is really, really stunning. And I want to dig in much deeper with both of you. You've given us some really great insight and analysis. Stay put, please. I want you to stay put at home as well. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to keep digging into this opinion and the grounds that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has cited in overturning Bill Cosby's criminal convictions for aggravated indecent assault.